Have you ever heard a story that feels both strangely familiar and deeply chilling? A tale where kindness is pushed to its absolute limit, where jealousy turns deadly, and where justice, when it finally arrives, is as sharp as a blade. Today, we're diving into a classic Vietnamese fairy tale, a story far darker than the Disney versions you might know. This is the story of Tam and Cam. Our story begins with a young girl named Tam. After her mother died, her world crumbled. Her father remarried a cruel woman with a daughter named Cam. Then, tragically, her father passed away too, leaving Tam completely alone. In her own home, she became a servant. From dawn till dusk, she fetched water, pounded rice, tended the buffalo. Her life was a blur of endless chores, punctuated only by the sharp commands of her stepmother. The house was cold, filled not with warmth, but with Tam's quiet sighs. One sunny afternoon, the stepmother devised a little contest. She sent both Tam and Cam to the fields to catch shrimp, promising a reward to whoever brought back the most. Tam, ever diligent, worked tirelessly, her small basket quickly filling to the brim. Cam, on the other hand, spent the day chasing butterflies and splashing in the water, her basket remaining empty. Seeing Tam's success, a wicked idea sparked in Cam's mind. "Sister, sister," she called out with fake concern. "Your hair is all muddy. Go wash it off before we go home." The trusting Tam knelt by the water's edge to clean herself. In that instant, Cam seized her chance. She dumped all of Tam's hard-earned shrimp into her own basket and sprinted home, eager to claim the prize. When Tam stood up and saw her empty basket, her heart shattered. She sat by the riverbank and wept. Just then, a gentle light appeared, and the Buddha stood before her. He comforted her, and, as a gift, gave her a single, beautiful bangfish to keep as a friend. Tam cherished the fish. Every day, she would share her meager portion of rice with it, calling it to the surface. But happiness was fleeting. The stepmother and Cam, consumed by jealousy, spied on her. One day, they tricked the fish, captured it, and cooked it for dinner. When Tam discovered her only friend was gone, she was devastated. All that was left were its shimmering, delicate bones. Crying, she gathered them, unsure what to do. Once again, the Buddha appeared. He told her to bury the fish bones in 4 jars under the corners of her bed. Some time later, the entire kingdom buzzed with excitement for the grand autumn festival. Of course, the stepmother had no intention of letting Tam go. She mixed a mountain of rice and bran together and commanded Tam to sort it all before she could even think about leaving an impossible, heartless task. As Tam cried over the impossible chore, a miracle happened. A flock of sparrows, sent by the Buddha, descended from the sky. They chirped and pecked, and in what felt like moments, the grains were perfectly separated. Now, she was free to go, but she had nothing to wear. Remembering the Buddha's words, she dug up the jars. They glowed with a magical light. Inside, she found not bones, but a magnificent blue silk dress, a pair of shoes that sparkled like they were made of crystal, and a beautiful palanquin waiting to carry her. When Tam arrived at the festival, she was a vision. She moved through the crowd like a moonbeam, capturing everyone's attention. But amidst the admiring whispers, she heard a familiar, sharp voice, her stepmother's. Panicked, she turned to flee, and in her haste, one of her exquisite shoes slipped off and fell onto the road. The king himself was passing by, and his procession was stopped by the tiny, ownerless shoe. He was captivated by its delicate beauty and craftsmanship. He held it up and made a royal proclamation. "Whoever's foot this shoe fits, shall be my queen." Courtiers scoured the kingdom. Back at home, the stepmother, knowing the shoe must belong to Tam, locked her away. She then eagerly presented her own daughter, Cam, to the royal court. But no matter how much Cam pushed, squeezed, and contorted her foot, it was no use. The shoe was far too small. The king, feeling something was amiss, ordered a search of the entire household. His guards eventually found the locked room. When they opened the door, they found Tam gentle, graceful, and impossibly beautiful. She was brought before the king. She slipped her foot into the tiny shoe, and it was a perfect fit. The kingdom rejoiced as Tam, the forgotten cinder maid, became the queen. But this is not where the story ends. In fact, this is where it truly begins. A year passed. Tam, now the queen, returned to her old village for her father's death anniversary. The stepmother, her smile hiding a dark plan, encouraged Tam to climb a tall areca nut tree to gather offerings, just like old times. As Tam climbed higher and higher, the stepmother took an axe and began chopping at the base of the tree. "The birds are calling, Tam," she sneered from below, "fall down and die." The tree crashed down, and Tam fell to her tragic death. Without missing a beat, the stepmother dressed Cam in royal clothes and sent her to the palace to take Tam's place. But you can't erase a soul that refuses to be silenced. From the spot where she died, a beautiful golden nightingale emerged. The bird flew straight to the palace and lived in the king's garden, singing only for him. The king, still mourning his lost queen, found comfort in the bird's sweet song, often murmuring, "My bird, if you are my wife's spirit, please fly into my sleeve." And the nightingale would Cam, seething with jealousy, knew this was Tam. She killed the bird and buried it. From the nightingale's grave, a magnificent peach blossom tree grew, its branches shading the palace. But whenever Cam sat beneath it, the branches would seem to snag her clothes and hair. Furious, she had the tree chopped down and its wood carved into a weaving loom. But even as a loom, Tam's spirit fought back. As Cam tried to weave, the loom would creak and groan with an eerie voice. "Creak, creak, you stole my husband, I'll take your eyes out." Terrified, Cam had the loom burned to ashes and scattered them far from the palace. But from those ashes, where they landed by a river, grew a single, unique plant. It bore just one fruit, a golden, fragrant thou fruit. An old woman who sold betel nuts nearby was captivated by its beauty and scent. She picked it, not to eat, but to admire, and hung it in her kitchen. From that day on, a strange thing happened. Every time she returned from the market, her humble home was spotlessly clean and a warm meal was waiting for her. Determined to solve the mystery, the old woman pretended to leave one day, but hid and watched. She saw a tiny, beautiful girl emerge from the golden fruit and begin tidying the house. The old woman rushed out and, embracing the girl, gently tore the fruit's peel so she couldn't return. "Please," the girl said, her voice soft as silk, "let me stay and be your daughter." It was Tam, reborn and whole again. One day, the king, still heartbroken, happened to pass by the old woman's betel nut stall. He was struck by how beautifully the betel leaves were prepared, exactly the way his beloved queen used to make them. He asked to meet the person who had made them. The old woman called for Tam. The moment the king saw her, he knew. Their eyes met, and it was as if no time had passed at all. He brought Tam back to the palace, restoring her to her rightful place as queen. Now, for the final act. Cam, seeing Tam alive, radiant, and more beautiful than ever, was both shocked and envious. "Sister," she asked, masking her fear, "what is your secret? How did you become so beautiful again?" Tam, her voice now steady and calm, looked her in the eye and replied simply, "It's easy. I took a bath in boiling water." In her desperation and vanity, the cruel and foolish Cam believed her. She ordered a cauldron of water to be boiled, and she jumped in, meeting a gruesome end born of her own wickedness. When the news reached the stepmother, the shock was too much for her heart to bear, and she collapsed and died. And so, Tam lived on with the king, her spirit not broken by hardship, but forged into something stronger. She remained gentle and kind, but she was no longer naive. The story of Tam and Cam is a stark reminder that true goodness can endure unimaginable pain and be reborn, while cruelty, no matter how cunning, will eventually consume itself. Justice, in the end, found its way. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this dark fairy tale, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from around the world.